Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Wednesday, the 16th of February, at the slightly earlier time of 9 a.m. due to the press conference taking place at 9:30 this morning. I'm joined, as ever, by Joshua Barry. How are we doing, Joshua?
Yeah, good, Derek. A little bit tired. 9 a.m. is notably earlier for us, but nonetheless, here we are.
And also, I'm delighted to say we're joined by the senior Rangers writer with the Herald and the Glasgow Times, Chris Jack. Chris, you're over in Dortmund for us.
I'm indeed. 9 o'clock is no bother at all. Breakfast has been had, column has been written and filed, and we're good to go for the day. Looking forward to it. As you say, Derek.
What was on the menu today, Chris?
A wee bit of bacon and egg this morning, a couple of pancakes, a couple of pastries, and a nice coffee just to start the day. So we're off to our flyer.
Fantastic stuff. Right, before we look ahead to tomorrow night's big game, folks, just a bit of housekeeping. If you're watching us on YouTube, if you've not hit that subscribe button yet, then if you do that, you'll never miss a video when we go live. And also, if you want to take advantage of the Rangers Review website as well, just head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe. Just £2.99 per month to support top quality journalism covering the club you love. Okay, let's talk about the game tomorrow. We'll start with you, Joshua. You've done a piece on the website this morning. I'd very much urge everyone to go and check it out. And it basically describes how Rangers can get a result tomorrow. Can you expand on your findings?
Yeah, hypothetical, of course. It's more of a look ahead to how it could happen if it was to happen, and probably more, what Van Bronckhorst will be looking to target. Dortmund at the back aren't very good. They've conceded 36 and 22, which is the 7th worst defensive record in the Bundesliga. Yeah, Mats Hummels come out, I think, last week and criticised his team basically for their lack of reverse gears in the 5-2 defeat against Bayer Leverkusen. And, you have Marco Rose in there, who's a top-level coach, but still trying to embed his ideas. He's very much in the mould of Klopp and Rangnick, and it played under Klopp in terms of how he wants his team to just be absolutely dominant in transitions, but when that doesn't come off perfectly, you've seen their 5th goal against Bayern Leverkusen. If I'm sure a lot of people have watched the highlights, if there's not kind of full commitment from the team at the top end of the pitch, then it leaves two or three defenders. So, basically explaining that there will be areas that Rangers can target Dortmund. I think Dortmund will win the tie because they're the 2nd best team in Germany and they're a very, very good team. But equally, Rangers will have their moments, and in the same way that when they went away to Porto, Benfica, teams that were a higher level of them, they will have moments in the game that they can try and hurt the opposition. And Dortmund, even if you look at their cup defeat against St. Pauli, who Jackson Irvine, ex-Hibs player, plays for, 2-1 defeat in January. The goals they conceded were, pretty shambolic. So, good team going forward, absolutely lethal, and in midfield as well. Jude Bellingham, one of the best young midfielders in the world, but at the back they definitely have some weaknesses, and I think that will give Rangers some encouragement, especially given, although away goals aren't in use, the first legs away from home, potential to take the tie back to Ibrox. So yeah, I think there's some encouragement from Dortmund's season so far, but obviously, yeah, if Dortmund turn on, if Dortmund get control in that final third, I think there'll be a big problems based on how Rangers have defended recently.
Yeah, Chris, of course, slightly possibly put to the back of people's minds the Europa League recently, with all matters turning to the league not doing so well, of course, after the winter break, but it's now come around. How much are you looking forward to this one? It's a proper glamour tie, isn't it?
In terms of priorities for Rangers, it's not that high up the list. Obviously, as Joshua just said, it'd be a big result if Rangers could get through. It'd be a bit of a shock result if they could get through. In terms of the bigger picture of the season, there's clearly more important things to be focusing on and to be striving for. But it's a great tie. When the tie was drawn, it just had that wow factor about it. It's a shame stadium won't be full, obviously, and we won't get the full kind of yellow wall experience. But it's still a great tie. And Rangers coming over here to take on the 2nd best team in Germany with the star names that they've got. You can't help but be excited by that. It's just a great occasion for everybody. If they can somehow pull off a win and somehow get through, great. but it's almost a bit of a free hit for them. Nobody expects them to go through. But I think that there is that, even though we can almost write them off in terms of getting through, I still think it's important for Rangers to actually put in a performance and to try and show that they can almost pick up where they left off in a European sense under Gerrard. Josh also mentioned like the Braga game and the Porto game, Benfica games. Rangers have taken on very high quality opposition over the last few seasons, but not been outclassed by them. And I think if they can do that over the next 180 minutes against Dortmund, it would be a real kind of barometer of just where they are in a European sense under Gio.
Yeah, totally agree. Joshua, there's a question came in here from William. We'll know more about who is available a little later on when Giovanni Van Bronckhorst conducts his press conference. But he says, do you think there's any possibility of Sands playing in a 3 at the back tomorrow night? Do you think James Sands might come back in? Of course, played against Annan at the weekend. Could you see that happening tomorrow night?
I actually think if you look at Rangers' draw against Lyon, which is in the piece that you mentioned, Derek, it provokes a little bit more encouragement than how Rangers have defended in the league. And when Rangers have been pushed back against Aberdeen and Ross County and really anyone they've played away from home, it's always felt from the sideline that it's more of a reaction in terms of instead of a kind of intentional plan. Whereas if you look at the 1-1 draw against Lyon, the depth that Rangers played at, they didn't sit in their own half. They didn't give Lyon control of their own half, and you could see that they were more structured and more rigid. I think probably because that was the plan from the outset. So, the plan at Celtic Park obviously didn't go well at all. But I do have more confidence in the way that Gio will set the team up, perhaps than how he has done against Aberdeen away in that second half, for example. Sands, I thought, it's hard to tell. It's Annan away, isn't it? It was, you could barely see because of the weather in the first half. But definitely one of the things that was muted as a positive when he came into the club was not only his adaptability, flexibility, but the way he could play with the game ahead of him, the number of interceptions that he made. So maybe in a back three he would be able to kind of plug gaps and whatnot. If Phil Halander's fit enough to play, he has to play, but who knows? As we said though last week, Derek, I think he'd had 20 training sessions before that Annan game, so he might be further along the process than we think. But I wouldn't be surprised if Gio goes to 3 at the back. I think he'll go with a front three probably of Ahmad, Kent and Morelos. But yeah, it'll be a tough test, and Rangers will have to sit back and soak up pressure regardless of who they play. But I think, as I say, just when possession turns over and in those spaces behind the Dortmund midfield, if you can get some of Kent and Ahmad in those spaces at points, I'm sure they will be able to make some sort of an impact. But yeah, I imagine backs will be to the ball for large periods, and I don't think Rangers will hold the ball as those games Chris mentioned, Porto away, when with Rangers in possession were top, arguably one of the best performances under Gerrard with the ball in his whole tenure at the club. I don't think it will be that kind of performance. It'll need to be a little bit different. If I know we'll come on to it, but if Haaland's missing, I think that's a big positive. Not only because obviously he's their best player, one of the best forwards in the world, but I think it seems to change their shape when he doesn't play. And they've played Malen through the middle, who I think has struggled a little bit to adapt. So he's still a top player, but nonetheless, I think everyone will be quite glad if Haaland isn't on the team sheet tomorrow.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Leads us on. Malcolm McClellan gets in touch. I had a chat with the site editor of the BVB Buzz, a news site for Borussia Dortmund, folks. It was out this morning, and he talks about those players you just mentioned there, Joshua. He reckons Haaland will be out of the tie as well tomorrow night. Chris, that is huge for Rangers, isn't it? He makes them tick. He's their talisman. His strike rate is absolutely phenomenal. So for him to miss any of these ties is a good thing for Rangers.
It would be a perfect kind of pre-match boost if that news. The Dortmund presser is 1 o'clock later on, so hopefully we'll get an update on Haaland's fitness then. If he doesn't feature, it's certainly a huge bonus for Rangers. I spoke to Derek Ray to do a piece last week. It's in the paper and on the websites today. And the two players he pinpointed were Haaland and Bellingham, saying Dortmund are a very good side with lots of very good players all over the pitch. if those two play, they really make them tick. They're just a different force when Haaland's in the team and when Jude Bellingham's in the team. Bellingham will obviously play as long as if he comes through their final couple of training sessions. If Haaland doesn't play, it does take something away from them. It would certainly be a real kind of bonus for Rangers. Now that is obviously bringing in Marco Rose can bring in high quality options, but you're talking about the guy or a guy that is the identical, almost complete striker. He's improved his heading ability. He can score right foot, left foot. He's big, he's strong, he's powerful, pacey, obviously. And if you take that threat out of any side, it's going to make them a weaker opposition. So no, fingers crossed. I hope he's okay in the grand scheme of things. But if he fancies sitting out the next fortnight, that'd be great.
Yeah, totally agree. Question come in here, Josh, from CGM55. Haaland ain't in the squad. That surely was a mistake. I've noted this in my piece on Haaland yesterday. I mean, it's great to see him back against Annan at the weekend. But as Chris mentioned earlier on, this match, in terms of the priorities, isn't high up as the league this season. Haaland back for the league campaign is absolutely huge, and perhaps not having the opportunity to negotiate these ties. You said it's possibly unlikely Rangers will make it through. Perhaps a wise move. Where do you stand on Haaland not being in the European squad?
Yeah, I forgot that. So there goes my predicted 11. But it's then you just got to really hope that Balogun, I guess we'll find out in the next hour or so, but really hope that Balogun is recovered from whatever knock he had last week. In terms of Haaland coming back, I think it's really big. Remember the Braga result when Rangers won away from home, and I think that was within that period of the draw at St Johnstone, the defeat at Hearts. I can't remember if it came right or just before or after I think it was just before the defeat to Hamilton. So Rangers did have a bit of a tendency to almost do their Jekyll and Hyde in Europe and in domestic competition a couple of years ago, and no one would trade a win over Dortmund for going out in front in the league in the next few weeks. Equally, I think you've seen that the Hibs and Hearts games, although I think that it's the response has been good, but it's still just beating Hibs and Hearts at home. It's not the games necessarily that will win the league. It builds momentum, it builds confidence back up, and just a good showing in Dortmund, I think, goes some way to doing that. But on your point about Haaland, I don't think it's much of a coincidence that some of Rangers' worst periods over the last couple of years have coincided with when he's been out of the team. You're always a big fan of him being the best out-and-out defender at the club, Derek, and I think you're right. And also, it gives that competition at left back the knock-on effect. He's just a good player. He's composed, and Rangers look better with him. So great to have him back. And it was one of these things we were wondering: is it a 7 to 10 day situation? Because he seemed to be very close for a long time without playing. So it was good to see him back out on the pitch, and he looked fairly up to speed for me for having been out that long.
Yeah, absolutely. Question coming from John Dooley here, just to address it. All the players who came in January window registered in the European squad. I believe that is the case. Aaron Ramsey and the likes are in there. And leads me on, Chris. Aaron Ramsey played at the weekend against Annan. Great to see him start for the first time. Do you think he's got a big part to play tomorrow night?
I think he has a part to play. Whether it's a big part, I'm not sure. I think he's probably still short of fitness and sharpness. I think it would be a big call from Gio. I know he has impressed when he's come off the bench and that hour at Annan, but to go from 15 or so minutes off the bench a couple of times against Hibs and Hearts and an hour down at Galabank, to go from that level of preparation, having been out for so long and not played for as long, to then come straight in and say, right, there's Borussia Dortmund, go and try and win us the game. I think that's a bit of a stretch. In terms of the squad and the bench, certainly not a bad option to have. Certainly a guy that they can play a part. If he plays more than half an hour tomorrow night, I'd be surprised. But potentially looking at the second leg, depending how tomorrow night goes, if you have to go and win at Ibrox to get through, perhaps go a bit more on the front foot and perhaps a bit more attacking in the Ibrox game. I can see him coming into that one if he can get a bit of game time tomorrow. Play at the weekend, that then maybe leads him into next Thursday. But I would be surprised for tomorrow night. I think Gio will go slightly more conservative in the middle of the park, and I think we'll see Ramsey start on the bench.
Yeah, I tend to agree, Josh. I wanted to touch on that point, what Chris makes there with regards to how Rangers approach it. We've seen it at Parkhead. It never quite worked. The Celtic overpowered them in that first half, of course. Can you see something similar happening tomorrow night? Should Rangers try and... Did they open up against this side?
I think the Celtic Park one was probably quite niche in terms of what they were trying to get Kent and Ahmad to do, and it really didn't work, did it? So I can't see them trying it again. I think, you need to not... I remember Michael Beale used to speak about the system and why it worked in Europe in terms of it kept the side far away from the goal, and although that sounds simplistic, I think when you've not got Haaland perhaps penetrating that back line, although Dortmund, I'm still sure of a lot of threats there, you can't give up control of your territory too easy. And to go back to an example we've used before, the Ross County goals that Rangers conceded, they were gifts, but also Rangers gave up control of that box so easily. I don't think under the previous regime you'd have seen the side fall that deep for all the issues that defensive structure eventually had as well. So I think, there's clear areas to target because the defence, 36 and 22, is not a good record whatsoever. 7th worst in the Bundesliga. Again, St. Pauli, second division side, beat a team that had Haaland, Bellingham, Royce, Brandt, had all these players in it. It's not that Dortmund, I think, are unbeatable. But equally, they can go and score 5-6 goals and completely blow you away. I agree with Chris, though, that not having Haaland there will be, if he isn't there, it will be a big boost to Rangers. Bellingham will be hard to counter in the midfield. It'll be a tough job for Glenn Kamara, but he's probably best suited to try and go up against him, in my opinion. And who knows what the team will be? Probably, I agree, Ramsey maybe will start, but at Gallowbank, I thought he still looked a little bit off match sharpness, and to have not played in 90 minutes and go and play in that level of competition is a risk. But equally, you've brought him in to play games like that, so I guess there's both sides to it. But Rangers have a good number of options in midfield as well, with Stephen Davis coming back at the weekend as well. So it'll be interesting to see what Gio does, but I don't think he'll get it as wrong as he did at Celtic Park again, because that was pretty stark how wrong that was going, I'm sure, from the sideline for him for the whole 45 minutes.
Yeah, okay, that'll do us there. Chris, you're over in Dortmund for the game. What's on the agenda today?
Rangers press conference in 10 minutes, and Dortmund is at 1 o'clock. So interesting to see what both managers have got to say for it. Want to speak to a couple of the players as well. So plenty of hard work to come, plenty of content to come, and we'll see what tonight brings. Might go and sample a local lager.
Quite right too. Okay, that will do us there, folks. Thanks for everyone for interacting with the programme as ever. Remember, if you're watching us on YouTube, just hit that subscribe button so you never miss a video when we go live. And also, if you want to take advantage of the site, just head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe. Okay, we'll be back again tomorrow for a big preview ahead of the game tomorrow night. But until then, enjoy the rest of your week.